BBC Radio Berkshire, Zara Larsson and Khan Tamer, 12 minutes past 6. This is Andy Jones. So the other week we talked to the brilliant Carl Richard about the Reading Comedy Festival. Well, one of the other organisers is a well-known stand-up in this area, contributing some shows as well. He's Rhodri Buttrick. And Rhodri, let's start at the beginning. How did you first get into stand-up then?
It was a long time ago. I was stuck in a school in the absolute middle of nowhere, and I'd watched a Russell Brand DVD and a Jimmy Carr DVD, and I think it did something to me, and I just thought, I really want to have a go at that.
How hard can it be? They make it look so easy. How hard can it be?
Well, exactly. I did my first performance in front of my own sixth form, which, to be honest, was the most wouldn't advise that as the best way of starting. It was absolutely terrifying, and it went well enough for me want to have another go at it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a exciting way to start.
Now, there is a big difference between, say, your mates saying that you're funny in the pub or at school or something, and then getting on stage, when it's an actual venue somewhere where they're maybe doing an open mic night or something like that. And because then you're going on stage, aren't you, with a presumption to an audience that's like, hi, I'm going to make you laugh. How frightening was that when it was the first time, with spotlights on you in front of like a proper audience? Was that terrifying? Because to me, it'd be terrifying.
It's pressure because you've got to elicit a really specific response, i.e. making them laugh there and then at that very moment, and you've got to immediately form a bond with them. Yeah. But at the same time, like, the social dynamic is much easier than normal. Like, if you're on stage, they're an audience, you talk at them. If they're well behaved, they sit and they listen generally, which if you're at a dinner party, who's the audience? Oh God, now I've got to listen to somebody else. Like, it's actually way more. The social dynamics of performing is way simpler than, say, being at a dinner party or what have you.
Also, the worst thing about it is if you're doing a performance of another kind, if you're an actor just on the stage doing a show, if you're doing Midsummer Night's Dream, you're not expecting a heckle or something, but you've got to be responsive to that sort of thing as well. And that's the thing that would really throw me. If I had a routine in my head down, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing there, that's one thing. But there's always the danger, isn't it? You could be thrown at any minute.
It is odd, that, though, isn't it? Like, the comedians are treated very differently. You don't get the Phantom of the Opera, people yelling, oh, go on, mate, take your mask off. It just doesn't tend to happen. Although recently audiences have been becoming pretty badly behaved. There was that incident in the performance of The Bodyguard where everyone was singing along and it all turned into a fight. So actors are not immune from horrible audiences. But yeah, you just have to, like, if I get heckled, like, if it happens, I normally take it on face value, and I'm very customer service about it, because I've learned from bitter experience that if I lose my temper, I look as irrational as they do, and
yes.
it doesn't end very well. Whereas if I'm really nice about it and someone's yelling at me and giving me all sorts of abuse, then they just look even madder.
Yeah. Fair enough. That is true. I hear where you're coming from. Now, you're really connected to the comedy scene here. For those who don't know, sort of why is that the case? And also, how thriving is the comedy scene generally in Reading?
It's pretty good, Reading's comedy scene. It's loads of independent promoters are popping up. There's our mates at Mates Rates. There's Jonathan Elston at Milk. And we've all come together to do the Reading Independent Comedy Festival. We met in a railway carriage and hashed out an agreement, and now we're all friends rather than competitors. But it is thriving, like, bit by bit. More and more nights are popping up in Reading. And my comedy club, the Stand and Deliver Comedy Club, has been around for 7 years now, which is crazy to think. It survived COVID, even though our original venue, unfortunately, never reopened. But we found a new home in the Reading Biscuit Factory, which is a beautiful cinema. And I find that people at Reading, if you build something, they turn up. People in Reading are very supportive, and they really want to go out and see something a bit interesting and different.
And with Stand and Deliver, how much of that is, sourcing talent from elsewhere, and how much of it is actually having acts, locally, and maybe even sort of finding a bit of local talent here and there?
I'm always on the lookout for local talent, but there is a finite amount, and when you're booking a show regularly, you end up having to bring in outsiders from outside Reading. But don't worry, they're all very nice.
Good stuff. I like that.
That is a problem with a town the size of Reading, and they're just, in London it's a million times bigger, and there's a million times more comedy nights going on, so there's more time for acts to develop, and because it takes time. Like, I might see a new act I really, really like, but you've got to give them a few years to grow sometimes.
And so Stand and Deliver Thursday the 18th. So I guess that's happening. That's one that's coming up. That's happening in the usual venue. But what can we expect this time around?
Yeah, that's at the Reading Biscuit Factory, a lovely cinema. I will be comparing, but I'm most excited because every so often you get to book one of your all-time favourites, and Paul Foot is one of my favourite acts. Oh. If you haven't seen him, you'll recognise his incredible hairdo, and he was always on Noel Fielding's team on Nevermind the Buzzcocks and knew nothing about music. He is an absolutely extraordinary performer, incredibly surreal. I can't really describe Paul Foot. You have to experience him, but he will be gracing the stage with his presence. And we have a whole host of wonderful support acts as well.
And you've also got a show then on the Sunday, Buttrick and Steele Conquer the World in the Milk Bar.
Yes.
By the way, first of all, Buttrick and Steele, great name for a 1980s American private detective series. It's got a real good vibe about it there. But what's the show actually about?
Well, it is me and my mate Jeff. I'm Rhodri Buttrick, and my mate is called Jeff Steele, and we're splitting an hour of stand-up between us. It's as simple as that. I do 30 minutes of humour. He does 30 minutes of humour. And last year we took this show to the Brighton Fringe.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a sellout run with it, and it was all really, really good. Apart from the one show where the audience was a majority made up by an absolutely feral stag do.
Oh,
but
no.
Other than that, me and Jeff had an excellent time performing at Brighton. And the interesting thing about me and Jeff is that we're very, very different. He is far more relaxed than me, far more laid back. And I'm far more worried and uptight about things. So the contrast is quite something.
How important is it? You mentioned the Fringe in Brighton. Obviously, we've got the big one everybody knows about in Edinburgh. How important are Fringe festivals for finding and nurturing new comedy talent? Are they still the go-to place still?
They're really good from a talent perspective because you get to perform for longer. Because I spend most evenings of the week I'm out performing 10 to 15 minute spots at other people's comedy clubs. But if you were to want to go and do your own show that's longer, then the best place to do that is Fringe festivals, because that's where you can book that space to do those kind of performances. And they're also great. And because I've got sort of two jobs, I'm a comic and also I'm booking comedians.
Yeah.
So Fringe festivals, I can see an awful lot of comedians in a very short space of time. So it's very efficient for talent scouting and getting new acts I might have missed for my comedy club.
Well, look, I wish you all the best of it. I hear nothing but good things about Stand and Deliver. Let's hope that continues for many, many more years. But more importantly, finally, Rhodri, where can we go and find out a little bit more about you and all of your upcoming gigs and everything else that you're doing? Where's a good port of call for us?
The best place to find me is rodders.com, spelled RHODDERS.com. All the gigs are listed there. And then the best place to find all the other good stuff that the guys are putting on for the Reading Independent Comedy Festival is the Reading Comedy Festival .co.uk.
I was about to say break a leg. Do you say break a leg for stand-ups? I'm not quite. Or is it just does it just become a threat if you say it for stand-ups?
I don't know. In Greenland, I do say break a leg to my colleagues, but I get a lot of funny looks, so I'm not sure you're meant to.
Okay.
But I've tried saying be funny, mate, but that also doesn't get a very good response from my colleagues either. So
no.
I think I think good luck is appropriate.
Fantastic. Well, good luck, or mildly graze yourself, or whatever we've decided that you can say. I hope it goes really well. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Andy. Bye.
BBC Radio Berkshire Travel.
And sadly, despite the Reading Comedy Festival, the traffic in Berkshire is no longer